Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a totally fascinating digital ecosystem, specifically analyzing the conversations and shared experiences between two brilliant cybersecurity enthusiasts on Twitter Spaces. We're going to break down the digital evolution of Chase, who goes by Aldo Delgado online, and Alberto Daniel Hill. It's a really incredible look at how a simple, everyday online audio platform completely rewired both their professional and personal lives.
Now, to really grasp this, we have to set the scene. Alberto recently summed up the early days of their connection, saying something like, "It was late at night, 3 or 4 a.m., talking only with you." And that perfectly captures the intimate, almost underground hacker community vibe that's emerged over the last few years. Digital audio spaces literally became a second home for these dedicated tech minds. We're talking about incredibly late nights, quiet houses, and deep, uninterrupted conversations about technology spanning all the way from the United States down to Uruguay. Which brings us to the absolutely crucial question of our explainer today. Can a single click literally change your career? Let's explore just how much impact simply unmuting your microphone can have on your professional trajectory, the friendships you build, and even the literal physical hardware sitting on your desk.
Section 1. Social Audio Ecosystems. From walled gardens to open platforms.
You know, there's a stark contrast between the two major platforms that hosted these communities. On one hand, you had Clubhouse. Back in its prime, it was a total walled garden. It was invitation only, highly structured, and super hierarchical. You literally had to rapidly blink your microphone icon on and off just to silently signal to a moderator that you wanted to speak. Very formal, right? But on the other hand, we have Twitter Spaces. It was open, highly casual, completely chaotic, and, as Alberto famously put it, incredibly buggy. But hey, despite the frequent crashes, that chaotic open nature is exactly where true, unfiltered connections blossomed, completely free from the rigid gatekeeping of the past. And that chaotic digital space is exactly where two brilliant minds collided. Alberto Daniel Hill is a forensic auditor from Uruguay. He's a total veteran in information security with a long history of tracking high-stakes cyber breaches and advocating for transparency. On the flip side is Chase, known online as Aldo Delgado, an AI and hardware enthusiast who's just fascinated by everything from data embeddings to the new Flipper devices. They came from entirely different backgrounds, sure, but they shared this profound, insatiable digital curiosity. Section 2. The Language of Technology. Connecting through Internet History. As you'll see, their conversations practically formed a map of Internet culture. They bonded over the sheer nostalgia of 1995 dial-up modems and manually coding HTML tables in Notepad. They charted the 2000s era of early real-time voice comms, digging into platforms like WebRTC, which, if you don't know, is the foundational tech that lets audio and video work directly inside your web browser without extra software. Then, jumping into the present, they geeked out over modern hardware hacking with tools like the Flipper Zero. Finally, they explored what Aldo calls vampire AI. It's that highly addictive, high-speed feedback loop of testing artificial intelligence models late into the night, basically draining your hours away like a vampire. For them, technology wasn't just a talking point. It was literally the campfire they gathered around. But here is the real secret sauce. If you break down their conversations, only about 20% was pure nostalgia, and maybe 30% was geeking out over new tech and hardware. The biggest takeaway? A massive 50%, half of everything they talked about, was actually about networking and community building. They were actively discussing how to bypass traditional gatekeepers, sharing industry insights, and really supporting each other's growth. The tech was just the vehicle. The ultimate destination was building a resilient human network. Section 3. The Value of Speaking Up, Crossing the Digital Threshold. Now, let's be real for a second. It wasn't always easy. There was a very real, very heavy barrier of intimidation. Aldo admitted that for a long time, he just listened. I mean, imagine walking into a digital room with over 500 people, packed with traditional InfoSec veterans and gatekeepers. It is incredibly daunting. It's so easy to just stay in the background, out of the spotlight, absorbing the info but never actually participating because you're worried you might not know enough. But then, a shift happens. As Alberto so beautifully pointed out, that 1 second where you decide to speak makes the difference between one life and another. That singular, terrifying moment of courage when Aldo finally decided to raise his hand, unmute his microphone, and introduce himself at 3 a.m., it completely altered the trajectory of both of their lives. Honestly, if he hadn't taken that tiny risk, this deep friendship and incredible professional collaboration literally would not exist. And Aldo completely backs this up. He directly confirmed it, saying, "If I had not spoken that day, the last 5 years would have been different." Just think about that weight for a second. 5 whole years of personal growth, networking, and technical evolution hinged entirely on one late-night decision to press the unmute button. It's a super powerful reminder of how fragile yet incredibly accessible opportunity actually is.
Section 4. From digital to physical space. The real-world benefits of social audio.
So, what does this all mean for the real world? Well, the tangible benefits are absolutely massive. By connecting directly in these audio spaces, they completely bypass those traditional industry gatekeepers we mentioned. They shared hands-on knowledge about tech hardware. They even met up physically at DEF CON, the massive hacker convention, hanging out and handing out custom puzzle coins. They gained direct, casual access to InfoSec veterans that would normally take years of intense networking to reach. And perhaps most importantly, they unlocked entirely new job opportunities. Let me give you a highly specific example of this in action. In September of 2025, Aldo's 6-year-old laptop was seriously struggling. But because of a connection he made directly through this social audio community, he landed a fantastic collaborative job opportunity. And get this, that job didn't just pay the bills, it provided him with a brand new Spark and a powerful M4 Pro laptop. He got to keep the equipment, which directly fueled his current deep dive into AI embeddings and that vampire AI loop we talked about earlier. Literally, that is digital networking manifesting as physical, professional hardware right on his desk. Which leaves us with one final provocative question for you to chew on. Are you ready to unmute your microphone? Seriously, think about the digital spaces you hang out in right now. What conversations are you just passively listening to? What potential jobs, lifelong friendships, or massive technical breakthroughs are you missing out on simply by staying muted? Sometimes the absolute biggest upgrade to your career isn't a new piece of hardware and it's not a new certification. It's just finding the courage to speak up. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep connecting, and I'll catch you in the next one.